Hi, welcome. I'm Jessie Walters with Charles Rutenberg. I'm here today with Stephen Williams, but he likes to be called Steve.
That's my preference.
Yeah.
Remember, it
Steve.
goes back to childhood.
He has PTSD if you call him Stephen, so we'll go with Steve.
Yes.
So
Flashbacks.
from Williams and Ackley, and we were talking on the break and basically saying that it's been about a year since I saw you, and we were talking about deeds, and we were talking about just different things with how to, and wills.
And we were in a different location.
Yeah, we got a new fancy location.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, it's actually, they're moving on up. Yeah. Yeah, so we were talking about just different ways of, I always say the 3 degrees of real estate. There's a game like that, but I won't go into it. But anyway, it's like the 3 degrees of, it's a Brian or have you ever heard of that?
No. Tell me about it.
So they'll say the 3 degrees of how like a movie star relates to it, and it'll be like in a movie, he was friends, he was married. So the 3 degrees of real estate for me is how, basically you would be relative for being an attorney, being what you do, how it's related to real estate. So we were talking about just in the state of Florida, we were talking about car accidents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how in the state of Florida, a lot of people move here because your home is homesteaded and it's protected from lawsuits.
Yes.
So if you have, that's why a lot of times people will say, well, I have a,
People mistake homestead. They think that homestead is just for tax purposes.
Right.
But it's actually has 3 different degrees to it.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, one that if a man has if a spouse has a spouse or they have minor children, they can't leave that to any other person except for that other spouse or minor children when they die.
Right.
So that way the spouse or the minor children, they have a place to stay when the other spouse dies or the other parent dies. Secondly is, of course, the homestead exemption, which we know is for tax purposes. It reduces taxes. But thirdly, and maybe more importantly, is the exemption from creditors claims. So if you're unfortunately caused someone to be injured and you get a lawsuit against you, a claim against you, your house can't be taken by that injured person or that creditor to satisfy that debt. So if you have a MasterCard, for example, and you maybe you have an illness and you can't pay your debts, which is fairly common in this area, they'll sue you, they'll get a judgment against you, those creditors will.
Right.
But they can't force you to sell your house to pay.
Can they put a lien on your house then?
No.
No. So okay, that's what I understood
What
too.
you do is they'll get what they call a judgment lien, which a judgment lien just means that the person has won the lawsuit, they get a judgment, and that judgment acts as a lien on all non-exempt property.
Okay.
So as you know, when you go to sell the place, you just have to, you can go to the clerk's office, you can get a certificate that says it's the homestead.
Right.
Once it's the homestead, then that'll satisfy the title insurance company and the title insurance company. That title insurance company is the one that's all powerful.
Right.
At the closing table.
Cheryl.
Yes, because if the title company says something has to be paid, then
you
got
better
a problem.
pay it. Yeah.
So you want to have something to satisfy the title insurance company that it doesn't have to be paid. And you get this certificate. Sometimes you have to go to court to get a order from a judge, but once you prove that it's your homestead, then it doesn't have to be. Then those debts don't have to be paid.
I got a question for you. So sometimes I have unique sellers, and so I
have unique clients. I think we're in the same boat.
I don't want to. I'm not going to say their names, obviously, but let's just say you had a client who you weren't aware of that maybe had a warrant out for his arrest and possibly had charges. So let's just say that they have a homesteaded property. Is that safe because it's homesteaded?
Homestead, that's your primary physical residence.
Right.
That's where they live.
Right.
So this person that you're talking about has, been charged with burglary, just for example.
Yeah, right, okay.
And they're charged with burglary, and have they been convicted?
No, there was a warrant out for their
arrest.
Right.
Okay, and then they get a chance to present their case to the court.
Right.
So what is the issue?
Oh,
They haven't been convicted.
Yeah,
So,
they had left the state, and then they came back and they wanted to call me to sell their property. So I was just doing the normal check that I would check. Then I was like, wait a minute, Crime Stoppers. No, just joking. Yeah, no. But I was just kind of like, oh no, this is a mess.
You're going to get the commission and the reward. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's all it's about. No, okay. For me, I was kind of like, oh, So I saw that, and then I'm like, I haven't heard from the person, so I assume that they're incarcerated. So, but I was wondering if their homestead property was protected. I assumed it was.
In jail?
Well, from the
Protected
from the charges that they're about to. So there's going to be charges which are going to have fees, which are going to be
Yes.
from the courts and from the charges that what they've done.
That's a unique question.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I
was like, while you're here, I was get some free advice.
I would say, yeah, sure. That's why I'm here.
Hey, if my
right?
customers are watching,
That's why I'm here. Yeah, it might even be on in the jail, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Just Google WeBeam TV.
So we'll reach your target audience.
Yeah, I hope not.
Well, if the person is found guilty,
Yeah.
then there'll be some costs and probably something called restitution
Right.
associated with the house. If the house was his primary physical residence, and I'm just going through the analysis.
Right.
If the house was his primary physical residence or their primary physical residence, then unless the house was purchased from the fruits of the crime,
Oh, right.
from the fruits of the crime,
Right.
if it was purchased prior to the crime,
Yeah,
then,
prior
I'm going to say that
2000,
the homestead exemption is going to apply, and they're going to get the benefit of the homestead exemption.
Okay, that's good.
Unless the victim could show that their property was sold and that was what was used to purchase the house.
Okay,
Then
got you.
there'd probably be some kind of a clawback.
Yeah, and it's through the
pierce that
state
exemption.
because it's like different. Yeah. So yeah, but that answers the question for me without putting everybody's business on. Free legal advice.
Just a small amount of their business.
Yeah, just a
On TV.
slither.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I need a reality show. I already named it and everything. The Realtor. See? And then I go through these, people will say, well, did that really happen? And I'll say, and then if my customers are with me, and then I'll share like a story, and they'll like go, you need your own reality show,
Well, I look in my calendar sometimes when you're asking about topics, and I'll flip through there and see, oh, well, this was interesting. We
Yeah.
could talk about this. We could talk about this.
Yeah.
We could talk about this.
Yeah, some of them are great stories.
Well,
Yeah.
The true ones are the best.
Yeah, I know,
That's the
exactly.
one they make the movies from.
Yeah, and you go, I can't make this stuff up, and people go like, I don't know. And then you run into someone, or you know what I mean, or it's posted somewhere or something. They're like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
actually happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truth is better than fantasy.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. Yeah. So their homestead exemption is going to protect them, and then so my whole
But
question
there's a
was,
couple of exceptions,
Okay.
as you know,
yeah,
that if you have work done on your house,
and
the
you don't pay your contractor.
Yeah, the contractor is exempt from that. That doesn't
Right.
apply to the contractor. So, and it doesn't apply to mortgages or any kind of voluntary lien that you put on the house. So, home equity line of credit, first mortgage, second mortgage, those are all those can be collected against the homestead.
Right.
But the one that I think
And IRS, right?
traps, yes. Now, I haven't seen IRS in my experience, and I do quite a bit of bankruptcy.
Oh, okay.
And I've seen, we deal with quite a bit of IRS debt, but I have, in my practice, 34 years now, I haven't seen the IRS actually take someone's house.
Oh, okay.
I have seen them put liens on
Yeah.
houses, and they get paid, at closing.
Right.
But there's also a Chapter 13 that can sometimes benefit a debtor in that situation, help out with the penalties and interest. But I've yet to see anyone actually lose their house
To the IRS
to the
solely.
IRS, where they'd foreclose on their lien.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that, but yeah, IRS is.
And HOA too, I think.
That's a voluntary
Yeah.
assessment.
That's a voluntary foreclosure, but people.
Well,
I had one the other day. They don't realize that if they don't pay their HOA, that they can foreclose on you.
There was a time back in the housing crisis when there were businesses that would buy these HOA liens,
Yeah.
these homeowner association liens, and they weren't very much money, sometimes $5,000, $10,000.
Yeah.
And they would, these businesses would foreclose on these liens, knowing full well that the owner would pay.
Right.
So they would not only get their money that they paid for the lien, because they generally buy the lien from the homeowner association at a discount.
Right.
So they'd get the full value of the lien back. They'd make them pay the full lien, plus they'd charge them some fees and costs.
Yeah, so
for
they make
the
some money off.
foreclosure procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once in a while, in their perception, they'd get lucky and they'd actually get to keep the house.
Right.
But that wasn't the usual.
Yeah, I think it's, like if someone's not paying the
Paving
HOA.
assessments,
Yeah.
lighting assessments,
Right.
those are all
Yeah, they can lien
be
them.
foreclosed on.
Right. So we were going to touch on if you, I have like a million questions going through my head right now, but if you got into
We'll
a
get
car
to 'em.
accident, and, I know in Florida, some people will say, well, my home's protected. I don't even need any insurance on my car. So what do you do when you have that happen? They just have
true.
minimal, and then they have their home with the homeowner's insurance, obviously, which it doesn't have any.
Cover it.
Yeah.
Homeowners won't cover it.
Yeah.
If they're in a car crash and they hurt someone, and they hurt them badly, and if they don't have insurance to pay for that injury, and they own a house, say the house in your illustration is paid for? Is that-
Yeah.
Okay. The house is paid for. And it has, and what did you say the median house sale now was?
Well, that was Pinellas County, but around 300,000
How about up here in our audience?
it is, it's like, I think it's 350 Pinellas and around 280
Okay.
Pasco.
So $250,000, say for example.
Yeah.
They have an equity in their house, and they injure somebody badly. They may get sued if the injured person is really serious about collecting their debt,
Right.
making the right wrong, because really the judicial system is set up to try to put people back in the position they were in before the damage was done,
Right.
and to hold people accountable. That's kind of what, and that's
Yeah.
a good thing for society, is to hold people
Yeah,
accountable.
true.
If your kids do something wrong, it's nice that they say they're sorry, but there also has to be some
Consequence.
making it right.
Right, exactly.
So the judgment gets entered against this person that creates the injury, and they lose their license. The judgment, you can take the judgment, send it up to Tallahassee, and they'll revoke their license because they haven't satisfied what's called the
Oh,
financial
wow.
responsibility of a driver that a driver has when they get on the road. The driver's supposed to have enough, either insurance or enough assets to pay for whatever injuries they cause to somebody.
Right.
And if they don't, then they lose their driving privilege. And they lose it until they either satisfy the judgment or they file bankruptcy. Bankruptcy will
okay.
discharge that debt.
Right.
And when the debt's discharged, then they get their license back.
And the bankruptcy protects, again, the homesteaded residents.
The homestead's protected.
Yeah.
Unless, and there's one big unless, and it doesn't, homestead and bankruptcy, there's a lot of litigation involving homestead and bankruptcy, just because this is Florida and people come to Florida and then they file bankruptcy.
Right.
But the one consistent exception is that if ill-gotten gains were used to buy the homestead,
Right.
and even then it's not a guarantee that the homestead can be taken to pay a judgment.
That's like if you're a drug dealer and
homestead-
you buy a house, or if you're,
Yeah, and that's not, I don't want to say that that's clear
Just
cut.
that?
It's a gray area. The homestead, just remember the homestead is sacred in Florida,
right.
and it really takes a lot to get to a homestead. There are a lot of instances where homesteads have been protected where people would think that, how
you know
could that be?
Because I can talk about this because it's totally public news, is I always think of O.J. Simpson moving to
gonna say
Florida.
Homestead.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
sure.
one of my main, kind of gave me 101 on Homestead. I was like, why would he move here? And then I was like, that was way
Yeah,
back,
well, Probably a bigger reason other than homestead was that his pension is protected
Oh, okay.
in Florida, and I don't know, it may not be in California, but there must have been a reason why he left California. And maybe he took some of his savings, maybe he had some savings left over after the trial and he bought a house here.
Yeah,
And that-
I know, protect
that was
that homestead
protected, yeah.
residence, yeah. Yeah, so I see a lot of people, move here for that, just to have their homestead residence protected,
Yeah, and it's, there's some restrictions on that. There's what they call the 1,215-day rule, which limits the amount of the homestead that's protected, because when they modified the bankruptcy laws a few years back, they wanted to limit people
Right.
being portable and having unlimited exemptions.
Right,
But in general, the homestead is exempt.
right. Yeah, so if you got, say you lived in another state, and then you got sued, and then you had a bunch of liquid cash, and they put those suits against you, and you came to Florida and you bought a home,
That still
you
may
have
be
to
protected.
still,
That still may be
Yeah,
protected, but up to a certain level.
right, and then they have so many days to make claim on that property after you purchased it, right? Yeah,
But just in general, the rule is, it has a few exceptions. In general, the rule is that you have unlimited, the homestead is exempt.
okay,
That's the general rule. And then there's a few exceptions that you really have to, that are sort of circumstance specific.
okay. So, what I was going to ask you is, first I wanted to thank my sponsors, Nightberry Title Services and the mortgage firm, while you guys are on here. Thanks you guys for always coming through. And then I wanted to, when we come back, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. There's Dylan. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on
Dylan.
what you, yeah. And Cheryl's on there, Cheryl too. I was going to ask you a couple questions on what you would suggest, like what is a good amount of insurance to have on, can you suggest that?
Sure. You want to talk about how much insurance?
Yeah,
a person
what's
should
a
have
good-
and the ratio to their assets?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can talk about that. I talk about that all the time with clients.
Yeah, and
Matter
then,
of fact, most people don't even know, and we're talking about car insurance, or you talking about
yeah, car insurance, car
most,
insurance versus your homeowner's insurance.
Most people don't even know what car insurance they have.
Yeah,
They-
true.
People walk in, they say, well, we have full coverage. Well, what is that?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
does the average person even know what full coverage means?
Yeah, true. And then also what your
They don't.
deductible, because I think that, because no one just takes out, here's my deductible, they take it out of the money, the proceeds, and then they're like, oh, my deductible's covered, because someone who wrote it up was like, don't worry about it, you're just,
You want to save some premiums? Yeah, get a big deductible
Yeah, exactly.
until you have to file a claim.
Yeah, and then
And then maybe that makes a difference.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everybody hold tight. We're going to be right back. But thanks so much, Steve. I don't want to say
I
Steven
appreciate that, Jessie.
Williams, and he's he's here today to answer some questions we have about insurance and we have about Homestead. So everybody hold tight. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. I'm Jessie Walters with Charles Rutenberg. Always here for your buying and selling. Any needs, any real estate needs you have, just give me a call. I'll be glad to help. And of course, we're here with Steve Williams, and we're talking about Homestead. We're talking about
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about how much insurance you need. And of course, he doesn't sell insurance, so we're not plugging for an insurance company. We're just talking about
nothing to do with insurance.
suggestions. Yeah.
Yes.
but if you guys need any with deeds, I mean, what is your first, before we go into what we were talking about with the car insurance? Tell us what's your forte, what's your.
All right. We do. The office has been around since 1972.
Wow.
As you know, we're going to celebrate 50 years in October,
Wow.
so you're going to have to come to our party.
Oh wow, yeah.
And do auto accidents, bankruptcy, wills, trusts, and estates, some professional negligence, medical malpractice, nursing home cases. So we do a variety of cases. And my partner, or actually my new associate, Theodore Bilirakis, whose name
Oh,
might
nice.
sound familiar to you.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
He's doing veterans benefits. So
Oh, wow.
any veterans out there who served and you have injuries while you were serving, and the VA isn't giving you the benefits that you're entitled to, give us a call, and Mr. Bilirakis can help you get those benefits.
So I grew up in Tarpon, so I know Bilirakis.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you do.
Yeah, I know Mark, and I mean, they were my neighbors actually, like
This is
some of
Teddy.
them.
This
Oh,
is
okay.
Teddy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. It's a small world.
It is.
Yeah. So it's amazing. So, so we were just talking about how much insurance versus how much basically you have in assets.
I
How
think
much car insurance?
Think of a scale,
Okay.
Jessie. On the one side of the scale, you have your assets, your estate,
Right.
everything you own, free and clear.
Right.
On the other side is this insurance, and it should balance.
Yeah.
So let's say you have your average house in Florida, which can't be touched, so we don't really worry so much about that with insurance. But say you have $500,000 in liquid assets.
Right.
Well, you'd want to have an amount of money, an amount of insurance equal to that.
Right.
So I just
Like
tell
an umbrella if you had cash?
No, you can go up to $250,000 of car insurance
Oh, okay.
before you get an umbrella.
Okay, got you.
So an umbrella might be helpful depending on how much asset you have. We know that the greatest generation, they amassed a whole bunch of assets.
Right.
And those assets are being transferred down now because those folks are dying off.
Mm-hmm.
And my generation is the beneficiary
Yeah.
of those assets. And so there's a lot of liquidity.
Right.
And if you get in an accident, the way things are now, you're probably going to have a claim filed against you.
Right.
Even for what you might consider to be a minor
Right.
incident, you're probably going to have a claim.
Oh my gosh, I
And-
could tell you a story. Let me just tell you a story really quick. You're never going to believe this. So when I was younger, I had a car I was selling. It was a Corvette, and I had got it, and it was like an old Corvette, and I had repainted it and stuff. Well, this is years ago. So I got pregnant, and I was like, I can't have a Corvette. I can't put the baby seat. So I'll sell it. So anyway, this gentleman came up, and he didn't speak a lot of English, and I was in the driver's seat, and he said, he evidently had said, don't start the car. And I thought he said, start the car. So I started the car, and his finger was in the fan belt, and I cut off like the tip of his
my.
finger. And at the time I was like, oh my gosh, I'll pay for you to have your skin graft. I took him immediately. And he said, oh, very, very little English, and he bought the car. And we were like best friends. I felt like then, we kind of bonded. I was a wreck, and I was pregnant, and I was emotional. I was crying, and so anyway, got his finger sewed back on, or the end of it, but it was shorter, I guess, and didn't cut off the whole nail, but enough to do. Anyway, so long story short, he said he wouldn't sue, and no problemo, and blah blah blah. And anyway, I got Allstate called me, and I got sued for 10 grand. I didn't, my insurance, because I had,
Yeah.
but
insurance.
yeah, and I kept saying, this is really bad, but I was remorseful, but then I was like, well, I paid for everything for you, and I got mad at him. So I told the Allstate guy, the only thing he can't do is pick his nose now, and they got a chuckle out of that, but they said, no, you're liable, So then my insurance premiums went up because they had made a claim.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I just had to tell you that
They have
story.
to get their money back.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
So, and that happened just recently, right?
Yeah, that was a little while ago, but yeah.
It was different then than it is now.
Yeah,
Because now I'm not home much, so I don't watch TV during the day. But from what I understand, there's just one ad after another during the
Oh,
daytime
yeah,
TV.
for,
Telling folks, if you've been in a car crash, if you've had this incident or that incident, we can help you file a
right.
claim. So people are more aware now of their rights to be able to do that than they ever were.
right,
And because of that awareness, they're doing it. They're exercising their rights.
right,
So pretty much if you're involved in an incident, whether it's a car crash, whether you leave some water on the floor, carpets rolled up and you trip, any type of incident that causes somebody's injury, there's probably going to be a claim filed.
right,
And if you're in a car wreck, you want to just think of the balance, think of the scale. You do an analysis. What are your assets?
right.
You add up, just make a list of everything you have. Put your house on there and everything.
Yeah, not what
And then
you,
just- and then
not what
just-
you,
and
there's
then
debt
add it up,
against.
and then add it up.
Yeah,
Right. Add
right,
it up. And if you've got debt, then okay, put the debt
Subtract
next
that
to
out.
the, subtract the debt out.
right,
And then when you get to that figure, take out the house,
right.
because that's protected. And then that tells you what you've got left.
Okay, got
And what
you.
you've got left, and there's a couple other exemptions. You can have a car that's worth $1,000. You can have $1,000 of personal property, but don't take that into account. Just figure when you're looking at insurance, subtract out the house, and that tells you what's liquid, what's left. You should have an amount of car insurance, what's called bodily injury liability,
Right,
equal to that amount of liquidity. Then, because in Florida, we don't have to have bodily injury liability. When you get your registration every year or 2 years, depending on how you do it, you have to sign something saying that you've got insurance or you've got
Right.
enough money to pay for somebody's injuries. Well, the only insurance you have to get your tag is what's called personal injury protection or
PIP,
property damage
right.
liability.
Right.
PIP, which is personal injury protection, that pays for your own medical treatment.
right,
As long as you get injured in the use, maintenance, or operation of a motor vehicle, which some people, that's the only health care they have. If they've got a cold, they somehow or another want to relate that cold to being in a car
Yeah,
wreck, 'cause
yeah.
that's their $10,000 of
right.
medical care. So I've actually heard people say that.
Yeah, because
So-
their immune system got down after the accident.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I always say
you have
there's
to
a
be
whole nother
creative.
world out there that I don't know about.
you have to be creative.
Yeah. There's a 3 degrees
folks-
right there.
There you go. Folks are creative. So you have to have personal injury protection. You have to have property damage liability. Personal injury protection, once again, that pays for medical treatment.
Right,
If you were injured in a car, in the operation, use, or maintenance of a car, then that'll pay for your injuries.
Right.
First $10,000 of your treatment, which doesn't go very far anymore, but
Yeah.
still it's something. And you have to have property damage liability. That pays to fix somebody else's property that's caused by your negligence.
right,
So, but you don't have to have what's called bodily injury liability. Bodily injury liability is what pays for injuries to the other person's body.
okay,
So if you, because of your negligence, injure somebody else's body through the use of a motor vehicle, you don't have to have insurance to pay to get your registration for
right.
those injuries. The only way to protect yourself, and there's a large margin of people in Florida that don't have bodily injury liability. They're out there driving around. Maybe 40% of the people don't have bodily injury
Yeah, it's
liability.
scary, yeah.
You gotta get what's called uninsured motorist.
Yeah,
Uninsured motorists, the insurance companies will sell it to you in an amount equal to your bodily injury liability. So if
Right.
you get $50,000 of bodily injury liability, they'll sell you $50,000 of uninsured motorist. That protects you in the event you're injured in a car wreck by a person that doesn't have bodily injury liability.
right.
So that's really something to keep in mind.
Smart, yeah.
And in my experience, for whatever reason, in all the time I've been doing this, over 33 years, insurance agents are woefully, just across the board, bad about explaining bodily injury liability and uninsured motorist.
And then you have to explain it when they come in to try it, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. Anybody here watching, you want me to look at your automobile insurance policy? Just give me a call, come by the office, free of charge. No problem. Just for
Yeah.
you, Jessie.
Oh, thanks.
Just for inviting me here today.
Thanks. See, he's got you guys.
So there's no reason why you don't have this coverage, because I just gave you the opportunity to
Yeah.
see if you have it or not. And no one understands, so few people understand their automobile insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, again, like, it's like your homeowner's policy and wind
Just
and
people
hurricane
think-
and flood
people
and,
think they're-
yeah.
People, they get told, oh, you've got full coverage. Well, full coverage is comprehensive and collision.
Yeah.
That pays for the car. So if
Right.
your car is financed, you have to have comprehensive and collision.
Right.
Because the person that loans you the money, whoever the finance company is, they want to make sure that if the car gets damaged, they get paid.
Yeah. And some of those, some people don't
And
even.
I'll tell you another
Gap.
coverage that's
Yeah.
really Gap, yes.
Yeah.
Gap is,
I've seen people at the Gap because they
gotta
just
be
keep trading
careful
it in
about
and
that.
putting their car upside down on the loan and upside down on the loan.
that's an insurance that
Yeah.
you buy when you buy the car.
Yeah.
Gap. And that can really, I can't tell you how many times that has bailed out clients of mine.
Yeah.
Because the cars are worth pretty quickly less than what the loan is on
Yeah.
the cars. And that difference, if the car's worth $10,000 but you owe 15,
Yeah.
that's the gap.
Yeah.
Well, you get in a car wreck, your insurance, the person that caused the wreck, believe it or not, they're only going to be responsible for the value of the car.
Yeah.
And that's 10,000, but you owe 15. And you
Right.
say, well, okay, where's the other 5 come from? Well,
Yeah. I got some bad news.
Right
Yeah.
right now, it's coming from the person that signed the loan document that said
Yeah.
that they'd pay it.
Yeah. Which is
And that's you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And Gap will cover that. So it's something to keep in mind when you're buying a car.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends who I've talked to, and they're like, well, I'm upside down the loan again. I'm upside down the loan again. I'm saying, while you're going through all that, ask them about, I'm not giving legal advice because I don't know about Gap, but I know that's going to
That can
help you.
protect 'em.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that pays. In my experience, Gap pays.
Paid. Yeah.
Yeah. Something else that's really interesting, a lot of people out there that have property damage liability insurance, they have PIP and PD, which lets them get their legal limits, they call it. It lets them get their tag so they can drive.
Right,
But they might only have $10,000 of property damage liability.
right.
So I have a case right now. This car, guy driving a pickup truck, slammed into the back of my client who was driving a GMC, one of the big
Yukon, yeah.
Yukons.
Yep.
And he hit him so hard he pushed him into
Another
a
car.
4Runner,
Oh, geez.
a very expensive car.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those are
And
nice.
then he was pushed into another car. So there's 1, 2, 3 cars that were damaged. This
Yeah.
person only had $25,000 of property damage.
Oh, wow.
So just the Yukon alone is going to max out the property damage.
Yeah,
So what about these other folks? And what about, now he doesn't have a car. His car was totaled.
right.
So who's
Gosh,
going to
what a
pay for
nightmare.
his, yeah, the rental, he needs a rental car.
Yeah,
So where's he get his rental car from?
yeah,
Either it comes out of his pocket,
right.
or another coverage a lot of folks don't think about is rental car coverage
Right.
on your own insurance.
Yeah,
And from what I've seen, people think, well, I have AAA, that'll pay for it. What AAA seems to do, and maybe somebody from AAA will say that I'm wrong, but what I've seen AAA do is they will negotiate a lower rate
yeah,
for you for the
discount.
car.
Yeah.
But they
I
won't
believe you're
actually
correct.
pay.
No, yeah.
So
Because I had
that's a
AAA on here.
misconception.
Yeah, and I
That's a
believe you're correct.
misconception.
Yeah.
So
True.
that's what happened to a case that I recently had was someone with AAA. I said, well, see if they'll help you out with the rental car. And they said, well, they will, but they're not going to pay it.
The whole thing, yeah.
And even when you have rental car coverage, it usually pays like $30 a day
Yeah.
for 30 days.
Yeah, so you can't go get a
So-
Lincoln,
Yeah.
but you can get a Kia,
Yeah,
I don't know,
at least
something.
you have a car, which
Yeah,
is something.
exactly, yeah.
But if you don't have that rental car coverage, and that was your main source of transportation,
Yeah.
and the person that ruined your car didn't have enough coverage to pay for the omnibus collision that they did, all the damage they did, well, you're sitting without a car.
Yeah, how are you going to
You're
work?
going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
rental
that's
car
when it
coverage
turns
can
into,
help.
I think of it as a domino, because you didn't, you know what I mean? Okay, so now you don't have a car, now you don't have a rental car, now you can't go to work. Now you, I
Right.
mean, do you have a spouse who could drive you, and are they missing work? And what about childcare? And you know,
Yes.
it's like this huge.
Yes.
So it's like just setting up these little
Yes.
things to protect yourself saves yourself so much
Yeah.
in the long run, you know?
And folks get just absolutely
Yeah.
really mad
Stressful.
when they have to go rent a car
Yeah.
and it's going on their credit card.
Yeah.
And
Well, because they think, oh, my car, even if their car is not totaled, and they're like, well, my car will be out of the shop in 10 days.
Maybe 3 months.
Yeah, and then it
Hard to
turns
say.
into a month, and then
Yeah.
there's other cars in front of you,
Yeah.
and now you've had this, you know, at $20 a day, 30, that's $600, you know,
Yeah.
it's 30, you know, 1
Yeah,
month.
and $20 will not get you a car now.
Yeah, exactly.
And think about this, when you go to rent that car, they offer you coverage that will pay for the car, any damage done to the car while you're renting it,
Yeah,
which I think is really good coverage. I
Yeah.
always get it myself. But it adds to the rental car bill.
yeah. So now you're
And-
at like $50 at least
And I don't
to
know if
80.
you've ever rented a car
Yeah.
where you've damaged it.
No.
But I have. If you don't have that coverage,
Yeah.
that's going on your credit card,
Yeah,
at least until it
cre-
works out. Now, the
right. Some
cards
credit
pay for it,
cards
yes.
will cover it
Yes,
too.
but you have to go through the process
Right.
of getting that done.
Yeah, and they want to say no to you, so always remember that.
So
You know,
it's
If you have another-
if you buy that coverage, people will think, oh well, my credit card will pay for this if the car is damaged. Well, it may not be quite that simple.
yeah. So it works like this: if you don't buy the rental car insurance, you will damage your car. But if you buy the rental car insurance,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. You'll never have to put a claim in. That's how I literally was in Key West because we had to go to a celebration of life, and we were there, and it was so much for this car because it's, you know, limited in Key West. And there's hardly, and you have to wait like an hour for this car, and people are trading back in it. And then she said, "Do you want the insurance?" And we'd already waited an hour, and it was kind of like, yes, we're going to take the insurance because everything is so packed in there. And literally on the way out, my mother-in-law totaled her car, but it wasn't a rental car, it was her own car. And then I guess, if you're there Monday through Thursday, it's not as busy, but if you're there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as we were leaving on the Friday, there was accidents everywhere, and we pulled the rental car in. I was so glad to get rid of it. It was fine and everything. I'd bought the insurance, which I hate to do, but I was like, better do that
Peace
just
of
to make
mind.
sure. Yeah.
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 And it's like you said, when you wash your car, it rains.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's what happens.
That's literally when it's a drought, I wash my car on purpose so I can see you guys all rain. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Are you sticking around for?
I've got to go.
You gotta go? Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Unfortunately, we started late. So
I
I've got to
know.
go, and I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so you guys stick around. I'm going to just talk about the market when we get back and tell you some experiences that are, happening close to you. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a second. Welcome back. I'm Jessie Walters with Charles Rutenberg. Thanks for joining me again. And I'm here just to talk about the market. We just talked to Steve about, what insurances to have to cover yourself if your homestead is protected. If you don't have homestead exemption on your homestead's not protected. So everybody who purchased a home from me, or actually just purchased a home, you just moved here to Florida, make sure you guys file a homestead exemption. We have till March, but you want to do it as soon as the title policy comes into the mail is your wake-up call to get in there and to actually file that homestead exemption. Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough, Hernando, everybody is a little different on what they need. So go right on the government site, Google your county, and then Homestead Exemption, and it'll all come up. There'll be a list, and you can see what you need. The last week I had a show on Homestead, what to do and what to file and what to bring in. So hopefully that helped you guys out. But I wanted to talk to you guys about the market. Right now, a lot of the news is saying, and a lot of emails and a lot of just different people advertising are saying that the market leveled out and that prices are steady and that there's inventory. So I'm not sure if these people that are saying the market updates are actually on the scene or they actually know what's going on. But right now the market is still hot, still a seller's market, which means that, for instance, on Friday, my client who's basically overqualified to purchase a home sent me 23 houses between Dunedin, Palm Harbor, and Tarpon Springs, 23 houses that were for sale on Friday. Some of them were just listed, and some of them had been on the market for a while. Anyway, during the weekend, she's a nurse, and she had to work. So we lined up everything for Monday. So now, if the market is slow, you would know that out of 23 houses, maybe 20 are available, and that we were overshooting, seeing the houses. But currently, what happened was, out of the 23 houses, 5 were available on Monday, to the point where I was driving to the houses, and some of them were going under contract. So it ended up with 5 being the houses that I showed her. So the ones that were left were, not. Some of them were not the most desirable homes. Some of them were left because the tenant had just moved out. But so if you're watching the real estate market updates and someone's telling you, that the market's evened out, if you're a buyer, I think we all know that you're out and you're putting offers in and maybe they're not coming through. Just stay persistent. There's some tips I've given you guys before of, get your conventional mortgage lined up if you don't have cash to purchase a home. A lot of people don't. Some retirees do. Try to get a conventional instead of an FHA, but FHA will still get you a home, but you have to be really persistent. Try to get as much down payment as you can. Try not to ask for a lot of things, and also try to narrow the home inspection period down for your purchase. So when you get these things in line, you look, basically more desirable to that seller. But it is still a seller's market. So if you're watching the news and it's saying that the market is back to normal or anything in that line that's incorrect information as far as Pinellas County and Pasco County, Hillsborough, and Hernando right now. So if you're buying or selling and you need help, just let me know. Multi-offers are still, they're getting 10, 15, depending on which county and which city that you're in. Some are still getting over 20 offers. So, if you need help, I'd be glad to help you guys to make your offer. If you love a home and you don't want to lose it, you got to make sure your realtor is on board with how to actually get that home for you as a buyer's agent. So obviously, been doing this over 16 years, so I can definitely help you out with that. But as we went through yesterday actually, and saw the houses and stuff, the ones that were still there, like I was saying, some of them were less desirable. Like, in other words, they needed flooring, they needed paint. There was some, some marks on the ceiling that needed to be redone. Some of them needed roofs. Some of them had defective, electrical panels, or panels that were outdated that were going to cost more on insurance. These are all things that you could replace once you get in there. But, are they a little scary when you're looking at them? Yeah. So, and what's the base, what's the base price for electrical panel, for a roof, for flooring, for paint, and all these things. So it's good to have a knowledgeable realtor just to kind of say, well, this is cracked. I'm not a contractor, but look at this area. You need to have this redone. It's going to cost you, in the ballpark of whatever, or we can get estimates, or is this a deal breaker if we think this is a couple $1,000s to repair, whatever it is. Not to just throw numbers out there as a realtor, because obviously you're not a contractor, but to kind of know, like, yeah, this can be repaired. Some things that you look at and you see over and over, you see patches on a roof, you see patches on a roof. The roof's probably at the end of its life. And depending on the square foot of the home, as a realtor, you see estimates go on the square foot from, 8,000 to 15,000. To be able to talk about those numbers, like, we just put a roof on in Spring Hill. The estimates we got were around 10,000 for a home around this size. We can get estimates. They were between 10 and 13 for a home around this size. It's good to be with a knowledgeable realtor to kind of, at that point, give you kind of like, well, this house may not be perfect, but we can make it perfect for you. And sometimes people like that because they want to put their own flooring in or their own colored roof or whatever it may be. But so right now, I think, the point is on some of the things, if you want it to be perfect, you're definitely going to pay and be outbidding people if you're buying a perfect home. But why not take one of those houses that were possibly back on the market due to roof problems, or, put it and throw a new roof on it, or, the air conditioning didn't work, it's back on the market, put a new AC, but actually work with your seller that has this home that is still on the market. Because as soon as it's still on the market for more than a week, my buyers are all, what's wrong with it? Why isn't it sold? So, those are homes that are back, but maybe you could work a deal with them. So the interest rates, as we know, they're projected to go up 3 times this year in 2022. They've started to creep up a little bit if you actually went and got a mortgage, pre-approval. They've creeped up a little bit, and then they're saying mid-year, in about 6 months, we're going to have another creep up with the interest rates, and then of course at the end of the year they're saying another. So they're projected 3 increases this year for interest rates. And what does that mean to you? Well, right now it means that the median price is not going down, and it's still projected to go up this year on houses. So if your interest rates are creeping up, your payment's creeping up too. So, everybody right now too, because the houses are expensive, people will say, well, I don't want to overpay for a house. So think of it, to justify it in your brain. So just in case you have to buy a home, this will make you feel better. Think of it like this. So I was going to buy a house that was 180, and I was going to pay 8%, it's between 6 and 8% interest. Now I'm going to buy a house that's 300, and I want to pay 3%. When you do the math on that, as we've done on different shows and stuff, you're going to see your payment's going to be pretty close. The insurance might be a little higher because you're insuring, the replacement value on your house is going to go up, but that'll make you feel better about your purchase because, it's relative. Interest rates down, house prices up, when the interest rates start going up, at that point, the house prices should level, but it's not just the sellers being greedy right now is, what's driving the prices up. It's just literally inventory. So if you do a search for inventory right now in Pasco, Pinellas, Hernando, Hillsborough, you're going to see that there's hardly anything for sale. And then when it does go for sale, that it sells fast. So if you need someone to help you guys find, a home, I do get listings that are not on the, not listed on, the MLS, not so much pocket listings, but people trying to sell them, separately and contacting me. Can you sell it? I don't want to pay 2 sides of realtor. I'll pay, I'll pay you, but I'm not going to list it. So I do have some of those right now. I do have one in Spring Hill, 250,000. I do have coming soon, which I have one in Shady Hills, Spring Hill area on 2.38 acres, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, immaculate, 450,000. And all the other ones that I have, I'm closing 2 this week. And I have just different ones in different counties coming up. So if you guys are looking for something, sometimes on my, the ones I have, I can't put on the show yet because I haven't got the listing. So there's so many realtors now, I can't put the address on, or you guys will all try to swoop in and steal my listing. So, but my customers, I do tell them first. So if you guys need an agent, just give me a call and I would be glad to help you on that. and share these listings that I have coming up, and that would be no problem. So anyway, I hope you guys have your, like we were saying in the last show too, your New Year's resolutions wrote down, and if it's to purchase a home this year or next year that you're saving, tax returns are coming up and you're going to be getting that money. So instead of buying that big screen TV, which is the most popular thing to buy, how about we save that to put it into maybe a CD and save it for next year, and then get your tax return next year. And we can talk about purchasing a home instead of just having a nice TV to look at in a rental. So there's different ways to do it. I like that Dave Ramsey, the baby steps, how he teaches people to save. And sometimes it's not glamorous when you're saving as far as going out to dinner. The extras, you might torture yourself for a couple of years, but in the long run, it definitely, definitely pays off, because you end up with that deposit for a home, and you end up, starting that new life for yourself and getting those goals. So I'm a goal person, so I like to make that sheet and actually put it on there. So if you need to find out how much deposit you need, I have Lien at the mortgage firm who can actually go over the deposits of how much you actually need, depending on which house and what your income will qualify for. And we can actually get a plan for your future. Lien will help you, basically just know, how much I need in pocket. Can some of my family members help me out with a gift to actually purchase this home? There's creative financing. Are you a first-time home buyer? Does the county you're in have any funds available for first-time home buyers? These are all questions that Lien can help you with, and I can help you with too. A lot of first-time home buyers are taking the class, and then they find out there's no funds available in that county. So, and it's awesome because you get educated for that first-time home buyers class, but then you also are disappointed because there's no funds available. So we can help you with just different things like that, and and get you qualified and stuff. So these are all things that basically for 2022 should be your goal. If you're not a homeowner, and we were just talking to Steve about, homeowner is protection for your money and your assets too. So to put that money into that home and have it protected with Homestead Exemption, and now you have this asset, whether it's for you and your family, and then something to leave your family, in the future. You're building this home and it's protected in Florida, as far as assets and stuff go. And sorry, I'm needed to take a drink. And and anyway, these things that I'm trying to help you guys with, and to protect your assets and different things like that, as far as car, as far as home. These are things for 2022, for future too, for goals. You can also put that on your goal sheet as well, to check your insurance policies to make sure, everything is covered, make sure your house is deeded right, just different things like that. And if you don't have a home, like I said, we can set you up with Lien to get you pre-qualified. I also want to thank Cheryl at the mortgage firm for always helping me out. Let me see if we can put her stuff up. Nightberry Title Services. She's awesome, and she can help you out. If you're doing a buy owner, she can help you out too. But I prefer you to obviously call me. But Cheryl's going to be on the show in the next week or two, and we're going to talk about market trends again. And again, if you're watching the news or listening to the radio or getting emails from different mortgage places, and they're telling you that the market has leveled out, I'm not seeing that yet, but I'll keep you guys posted if it does look like it's leveling out. I know buyers want to hear that this is just a bubble and that it's going to crash, but so far I'm not seeing that. And also the actual valuations on the homes and stuff, people are saying, is it a bubble? And the problem is that the appraisers are coming out to the houses, and if the house is not appraising, the buyers are actually putting cash with the houses. So this means this is how the houses are going up. It's not so much that the appraisers and the banks are going crazy, because everybody keeps saying this is the same thing that happened in 2006, 2007, 2008, where the banks were loaning and going crazy. Well, actually right now we have a lot of cash buyers from out of state who are, pumping up the market. And then we have a lot of buyers who, if the house doesn't appraise out, they're putting cash with it. So the banks aren't over lending. Your cash buyers and your out-of-state purchases are the ones bumping up the market. In other words, if Mr. and Mrs. Jones' house, you're purchasing it and it's $300,000, and the appraiser says it's $280, then the buyer says, well, here's 20 grand. Here's your, they put the money with it to pump it up. Now that increases the price. And now when you get 3 of those that someone has either paid cash or put the extra cash with, or again, put the extra cash with, you have 3 of those comps. Now that brought up that whole neighborhood $20,000, and that's how it's working. It's not that, a lot of people, the misconception is that the banks are just lending like crazy and they're just giving anyone money, and that's actually wrong. The appraisers are still going out. They still need 3 solds in the area to show that this house is worth it. And if they don't have it, they're not appraising those houses, which means that your buyer has to bring cash. So if your buyer doesn't have the cash, then literally they lose the money for the home inspection. The house didn't appraise out, so they can get their deposits back, but they're losing out on the appraisal money and they're losing out on the home inspection money. So they're out a couple $1,000s. So you want to make sure you educate your customer that just because this house is, you overbid $20,000 doesn't mean you're not going to have to bring that $20,000 you overbid to the table. And then also, it's not that you're the problem, but you are the one making the market go up, where I think a lot of people, like I said, the misconception right now is that the banks are going crazy like they did in 2006 through 2008, and that's not necessarily what's going on. So we have a bunch of cash buyers who want to live in Florida because it's paradise, and we all know that, even though we complain in the summertime. But anyway, I hope this market update helped you guys. Don't be scared to buy. Interest rates low. They're gonna go up. And I thank you so much for joining me. If you guys have any questions, buying or selling, give me a call. Thanks.